Why would I want thermal imaging inside of a ghost hunt? This is interactive, guys. You can answer, I promise.
Temperature fluctuations.
How so?
Because normally when you're working with a spirit, the temperature can be a lot lower than our body temperature.
Exactly. We're looking for cold spots, to put it simply. So again, that old adage, it is true. Normally I capture about 4 to 6 very solid pieces out of this per year. This year I've already caught 2. It's only April. So again, this is an upgraded version of the FLIR 1. This is a FLIR Pro. So basically this is what firemen use to basically save people. Like, this is the real deal. So you guys should be able to see me in this picture. I'm the red, orange, and yellow guy. If you're a bridal party, that means I'm the hottest thing inside the picture. So I know it's a bad joke, but it works. But with that, we're literally looking for blue and black spots to either take shape or move on their own. So just a few weeks ago, about 6 weeks ago now, I had an 8-year-old girl using this, and she caught a full cold apparition walking across one of our spaces, and the coldest spot on that face, or on the person, was their face, where technically that should have been the warmest, because that's where somebody's skin would be showing. So again, very interesting camera. So Gabriel, you're actually going to hold this horizontal all night long, just like this guy. Usually right-handed is best because your hand will cover up the camera on the left. We're going to do a few starts and stops only because the software for that is horrible. The hardware is great, software sucks. So the red square is where I'll say go ahead and start and stop that guy. Now, obviously when you restart it back up again, make sure you're in that horizontal position with the wire to the left. Otherwise the video will be flipped to the side and I'll have to give out your phone number, and that's never fun. That was also a joke. Yes, somebody got it. All right, so let's get into the next camera because I'm excited about this one. This one just came in today. It is an upgrade, so hopefully this is going to work out beautifully compared to what the other one was not doing. So I just shine myself in the face with it. That's perfect. So plug it in, and I'll show you what this guy does. This one is a little crazier than the other one. Alright, so in this little tiny screen, you should be able to see, at least the black screen, it should be pretty dark. You should not be able to see me in there. We're going to turn on some lights. I've just lit up 10 infrared lights so that we can actually see in the dark, and we're using lighting that we can't see with our own eyes. The hope here is that we're going to be able to see something in the camera, in the video, that we normally would not be able to see with our own eyes. There is an accompanying item to this, so I'm going to go ahead and start this recording. The last one, I wouldn't start the recording right away because it used to lock up on me. So again, I want to see how long this thing's actually going to last. This is our first night with this, so Kevin, this one's all about you, my man. I'll show you more about that at our first location. But let's get the accompanying item out for that just so we can get that squared away. Alright, this is the neuralizer from Men in Black. None of you are going to remember anything by the time we're done. But Nick, you're recording everything. Lasers. So we're going to be using lasers, and they are actually going to accompany your device because you can't see the lasers until something passes through it. So we're hoping to actually capture motion. So in the event that we actually have something going through it pretty quickly, obviously I'll take that still and be able to show you what we actually caught. We're going to be using 2 different styles of lasers. The second one gives us red squares. The reason I use this one is because if we capture something here and I can get a still out of the camera, I can put it in 3D software and actually show you a full 3D view of what we caught along with measurements. It's pretty crazy stuff. So far the anomalies I caught out of this guy, the software would not take. They were too blurry. So it was still very cool stuff, but the software just wouldn't take it. I've had this particular laser, the red one, for about a year now. So again, hopefully maybe tonight is our night, especially with the new camera. Fingers crossed, right? So lasers get Nick in a lot of trouble, so we're going to keep them on the ground. So you're always going to point them at the ground, Miss Laura, and that way they stay within 3 to 4 feet in front of you. Basically, have them touch your feet. That's basically the easiest thing. You don't want to cross the streams either. It's a bad Ghostbuster joke, but that also works here. You kind of want to create a nice big grid. So again, that way, and when you're filming this, you're going to stand 3 to 5 feet away, filming through the laser. I don't want you pointing at the ground. There's no point. We know what the squares and the stars look like. We want to see something passing through the laser that we normally wouldn't be able to see. So we do have a laser law in Charleston, so no pressure. Don't get Nick arrested. Spirit boxes. Let's get into them. I have a lot of them, and they all do something a little bit different from the next. So, spirit boxes are a way for us to communicate with the dead. With this particular, you guys seem like you're very in tune with a lot of these devices already. Is there something that I have that you might be, yeah, you are?
Oh, no. I'm
Oh.
just a spiritual medium, so I'm just focused.
Very interesting. Okay, thank you for letting me know. That's a big deal. So, I'll explain why in a few moments. So, spirit boxes are going to sweep through the FM radio stations at a very quick rate. On your TV shows and your YouTube videos, it's basically the white noise, right? And then, obviously, your host, Zach Bagans, is going to tell you the BS he thinks he heard in the middle of it. So, mine are going to work a little bit differently. It is sweeping through the FM radio stations the same way, but they're slowed down. Those anomalies that they actually show you on television, those are also a rarity. So to be able to find a disembodied voice, I capture maybe 4 to 5 of those per year. So I have it slowed down, allowing the radio chatter to come through. When we hear something and we can actually make it out, it's a 50-50 shot that I can tie it to the location of where we are, person in history we're talking about, or something going on with one of you. It happens all the time. So this one's going to record the entire session for us. No outside noise, and the people, I have 2 of these I'm going to be handing out. So the 2 people going to be using these are going to have an earbud. You can see them hanging. I don't want earbuds back. Earwax is gross. So they're going to be the only ones that hear it in real time, but I'm going to be taking notes. I keep a little notepad with me, so I write everything down. I'm also going to spot check this recording and give you about 15 to 25 more markers tomorrow morning on top of whatever's heard in real time. So kind of keep that in mind. I'll be jotting a lot of things down. This one is already recording. You're my chatty Kathy. So, obviously you're going to untie those, but your volume is right here. You don't need to worry about any other button. It's already doing the job. You can play with the volume all you want. You're not going to mess up the recording, just so you know. And it's already all the way down. You can put your earbud in, go ahead and play with it, so that way you can get used to where that's at. Ella, you're my next person. I'm guessing you're in your teens.
15.
So, teenagers do really, really well with this. So, just because your ears are better than ours. So, again, you're going to have to undo the twist tie. Your volume button is the wheel. So, you can play with that all you want to. And that one is not recording, so I'm going to be relying on you on whatever you hear in real time.
Pay attention.
Natalie, you are getting another new device that I have here. I want to see what pops up out of this, and there's a reason why it's going to you, because Gabriel has the camera, so it records audio. This one is live, so it's actually going to be, there's no earbud to go to it. This one works a little bit differently, because it actually sweeps through both FM and AM radio stations at the same time, and it tries to take out the white noise that the 2 ladies are hearing right now. So again, you're going to hear little tidbits come out. We're hoping that we're going to hear about 10 to 12 words total in our 2-hour time frame. I'm going to put it on mute for right now, just because it can be distracting when I'm kind of going through something like this. So again, when you guys are paired up together, hopefully when something does come through, we'll capture it with the audio from the camera. Your mute button is right here. It's the only button on the right-hand side. Let's see what we got left. So, you guys have probably seen these on television, right? So this is it, right? The EMF detector. Yeah. So this is the new upgraded version. I'm going to be keeping this on me just because I want to see how it reacts. It's actually going to make like a little buzzing noise when it actually goes off. That's a new feature of it. Plus, some little kid dropped mine last week like 20 times, so I had to get a new one. So I was like, oh, I'll get the new upgrade. So I'm going to keep this on me just so I can kind of see how in-depth of a buzz that it's going to give us, so to speak. But this one runs a little bit differently. This is called a millimeter. You're my multifunction person.
Okay.
So basically what this is going to do is it's going to measure electromagnetic fields. So the top number, anything above 2.5 is what I want to know what's going on. Okay. So it's 2.5, not point whatever. Okay. The reason I say 2.5 is because that is the second green dot on this guy. So that way we can kind of compare and see what's actually happening. So last night was the highest spike I've ever seen. Okay. It was over 200. Yeah, that's like dangerous levels.
Okay.
The bottom number is ambient temperature. If Gabriel finds something on his camera, you and I can debunk it pretty quickly by figuring out if it's actually coming from something man-made or if it's an actual cold anomaly. Okay. The last thing that it has is it has a REM pod into it. So it's a motion sensor. If something gets close to that antenna I just pulled out, it will go off. The closer it gets, the higher the pitch, and obviously there's an array of color in there that you and I will talk about at our first location. Okay. So I'm going to keep that off for right now. Okay. But I do want you to focus on these numbers here.
You have some type of reader?
I did not pull out. So I normally have, there's a separate type of spirit box that I use, and I usually have a separate device for it, but I definitely wanted to get the red spirit boxes out first. So I'm going to run it on my phone, because yes, it is a phone app, and I'm going to explain it. So it's basically going to give us words from time to time in the center of the screen. Okay, so you guys all play with these apps, right? So, you know, some of them work, some of them are bogus. It's going to save all of the terms to a list. Last night we had 117 terms come up because I did it the exact same way. I had a little bit of a smaller group. So again, that's a lot for a 2-hour tour. So I'm going to clear out last night's list because they already have it, and we're going to start off fresh. The cool thing about that is it gives me timestamps. So that way if something does pop up that's relevant, I can watch the videos in those timestamps, listen to the audio, you guys get where I'm going. 80% of this is bullshit. I'm just going to put it out there. It doesn't mean anything. So this is the other 5 to 20% that, again, I'm going to give you the explanation and a link to be able to verify it based on our location. Is that fair to everybody? Yeah. So, again, you guys are getting me double whammy tonight because I'm trying out a new device and using this guy. So I'm going to let that run in my pocket. Thanks for making my bag much lighter. All right, guys, go have fun. Let me know what happens. Ella, you're in charge. She's like, nope. I can't even hear you. So, so again, is this what everybody thought they signed up for? Yeah. It seems like you guys are pretty in tune, so that's pretty cool. Yeah. So usually if I have a negative Nancy on the group, it's never fun. So cameras, real quick. Cameras, people do not like their cars to be filmed. They do not like to be filmed themselves. If I do kind of like an Andy's Humming kind of mentality, I'll say act casual. Basically, you're going to point your camera at the ground, and then you're going to be playing with a cell phone. So again, I don't like to be screamed at. You guys don't like to be screamed at. People's cars, we get it, right? All right, so let's talk about why we started here. Let me get a drink of water first, because Natalie over here is going to make me talk all night because she's not going to say a word again. I do a pretty good name so far. Yeah. I think the Chandler's throwing me off.
It always does. Just think of Friends.
I did, but I was expecting a guy.
Oh my gosh, all the time.
So,
yeah.
Just putting it out there.
Sorry.
I don't lie about anything, sorry. Okay. No filter.
No problem.
All right, so Big John's behind me. There's a reason why we started here. So Big John's used to be owned by a football player, Big John Kennedy, 1947 New York Giants team player. So this was his bar after his career. He actually used to sit in the back of the bar and tell the bartender if the cadets coming over from the Citadel, if they were old enough to drink or not. But one night, 2 guys come in, they're not old enough to drink. So he has the bartender throw them out. They'll be pretty pissed off when they come back the next night and try to steal the cash register from the front of the bar. John sees what's going on. He slams down his beer, gets up, and just starts pounding these guys into the floor, beating the heck out of them. Gunshots go off. John gets grazed in the neck, and the bullet lands in the wall behind him. John gets up. He's the only one that's been shot, by the way. Goes back to the bar, tells the bartender to get him another beer, get the 2 guys on the floor in ambulance. So here's the irony. Don't mess with Big John and Big Greens. Secondly, nobody dies in that story. You think of a haunting, you think of a ghost, somebody's dead, right? What's haunting the place is the bullet hole. It's allegedly still here. So anyway, this is a new renovation we have of Big John, so it's a possibility that they may have filled it in. So even if they didn't fill it in, that means that Big John's blood is still in the building. So
Y'all taking bike taxi?
what's that?
Are you taking bike taxi?
No, your bike taxi place is right over there. I'm not sure if they're open right now though. Obviously the lights are all out. Unless you were waiting on a bike taxi.
No, it just looked like they were open from 9 to... Okay.
So that's the place right there. Big yellow sign.
Thank you.
Yep.
We can always walk that.
So where was I, Ella? Do you remember?
Motorhome.
Okay, good deal.
Yeah.
See? I want to make sure she's paying attention. I have teenagers, I have to be telling. So, at any rate, so the bullet hole allegedly still here. People that sit in the front of this bar tend to get a little queasy, nauseous, or headache. This is kind of your heated warning. If anybody feels any of those symptoms tonight, I need to know immediately. I won't lie, psychics and mediums normally don't make it. So, we'll kind of see how it goes. I'm going to be keeping an eye on you all night long.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm used to it, I promise.
So, I don't like to, keep heating on that warning, but it's a very big deal. People have passed out on this tour based on certain locations. So, let's talk about something other than our own health, right? Yeah, because that's probably the scariest thing I'll tell you all night long. Once I tell you that you might get sick. So, we had a big earthquake here in 1886. You didn't know that from another tour because we all talk about it. You do now. It's South Carolina. We're not supposed to have earthquakes. This building behind me is allegedly where the first death occurred from that earthquake. The white mantle you see in the middle of the building also wraps around the front on the east bay side to my right. A piece of it broke off, struck somebody in the back of the head, and killed him. They say you could see his ghost in the middle of East Bay Street in the middle of the night, and that came from the previous bar owner that I used to chat with quite frequently. I say apparently and allegedly a lot because I don't have any proof of that story. It's just a great segue so nobody's thinking about being sick on the tour, even though I just mentioned it again. So, is everybody ready to go ghost hunting? Let's
go. Yeah.
All right, we're gonna go this way. No, that's not me.
But she's not a breakthrough. They're kind of off
All right, so everybody, think of your time with me tonight as kind of a ghost hunting 101, right? So most of you have never done this before, so we're going to start off very easy and we're going to work our way through. So with that said, this is a very easy spot. This is where I get to show you more about your devices, and then we're going to deep dive into much longer ago history than what we're about to talk about. So this is the big red barn lot. This is where we keep the horses for the carriage rides. They don't like the white noise, which is why you guys are using earbuds with your spirit boxes. They also don't like lasers, so obviously no lasers are going to go in that building. They're not going to be here long anyway. So the history here is a one-liner. I made it that way on purpose just so I can prove a point. This is where we used to keep horses that used to deliver milk and eggs to the residents of Charleston. Whenever I'm giving you the history of a building, because I talk so fast, I've learned to slow down on the certain keywords for all the spirit box teams. So over there it was 47, New York, Giants, John, and anything relatable to a bar. Over here, I just said the words delivery, milk, eggs, and anything relatable to a stable would be relevant here. So let's talk about those spirit boxes. How many do we got in play tonight? So I got 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so we got 4 in play. I have 6, 7 total now. So again, I have to keep track of how many I actually handed out. But at any rate, so this is not TV. This is not a Ouija board. This is not, is somebody here? Because everybody wants to ask it. Because if somebody says no, that means somebody's here. Right? So we're not going to be asking yes or no questions all night long. Some of these spaces I'm going to kind of give you impromptu questions. You can use them. If you go rogue, just make sure you stay away from yes or no questions. And obviously it's things that we can actually prove. In a space like this, I would normally say, if you guys were going to spread out, which we probably won't because I want to get to much deeper history for you guys, you know, you would ask a question you already know the answer to. So if somebody's here, tell me what color the big red barn is, right? Something very simple. Obviously, we're going to be looking, because I have the word list, and listening for the color red. However, all of the spirit box teams tonight are using basically DJs and song lyrics to convey messages back to us. The word red might not be there. So, fire truck, blood, heart, those 3 things are specifically red. I would take that as an acceptable answer. What color is the big red barn? Blood. I'm good with that. However, most of the night I'm going to say, that's a good start, but I need something else to verify what's going on. For example, if my word list gives me the word art, and Natalie hears the number 40 come out of her spirit box, those 2 terms don't mean anything by themselves. Put them together, Art Faircloth was number 40 on Big John's team. Do you guys see where I'm going with this? I always look for a verifier, whether it's an EMF reading, a spike on the REM pod, something else has to be going on before I say it's actually solid evidence. Now, with that said, I'm going to, like I said, give you guys other questions throughout the night. We're not going to spend a lot of time here, so let me kind of talk to the cameras for just a moment. Go ahead and put one of your lasers down on the ground for me. Perfect. So that's like right there. Have the tip touch your toe, and you're at the perfect spacing already. I already have you recording. I want to wait to see how long it's going to go. So if we get 2 hours of footage out of that, super great. I know it's actually working the way it's supposed to. The last camera I had only got us about 20 to 30 minutes before it pretty much gave up. I also attached an outside battery source, so it will not die. It will keep going. I'm hoping that the recording part of it is going to keep up with what I'm able to do out here for you guys. So I will always give you the safe space. You can cut that off now that you got used to them. Just keep in mind when you turn on the red one, it stays on because it's a toggle switch. Okay. So if you let go of it right now, it'd be pointing at the red one.
Got it.
So again, always
Make
keep
sure
in mind,
it's off. Yep.
And no pressure, they do set off car alarms. Again, notice how I kind of separate everything so you're not like, oh my God, what did he hand me? As far as your camera, Gabriel, you're going to try to do 2 things for me. You're going to try to keep one of us in view at all times. The reason why is we're going to be the warmest thing out here. So that's going to put that array of color on the screen for everybody. It's going to be much easier to see cold spots if we have that variance of heat and cold. So the other thing you're going to try to do is keep the sky out. The reason why, guys, I forgot to tell you, there is a blue dot that's bouncing around that screen on Gabriel's camera. It is giving us the coldest spot in the frame at that particular moment. So it kind of helps direct your eye when you guys are watching it. When you put it on the sky, it automatically defaults to the sky because it's looking for a surface. There's no surface on the sky unless he finds Jupiter. So I doubt he will because it's not very clear. So again, some of those spaces it's going to be impossible to keep the sky out, so just kind of do your best. And again, try to keep one of us in view at all times, even if it's at a distance. So very interesting the way that camera works, and you guys are going to have a blast watching it. Let's see, I think I'm going to cover the REM pod at the next space, just because we started off a little later than I like to, but that's okay. And again, I don't pay attention to time, so I want to make sure we're actually capturing evidence other than going through teaches and trainings. Right, so let's deep dive much deeper than horses and ponies. Yeah, sound good? All right, let's go this one.
You want me to start the recording now?
It's already recording.
It is?
I do that on purpose.
Oh, okay, because you told me you wanted to wait, so...
No, I start yours at the beginning, just because I want everybody to learn how to watch it when they get it back.
Okay.
Except for the word key, and weren't we just discussing keys?
Yeah, we were. We got keys jingling too.
That's why I put money in my pocket.
Yeah, before you guys got
Spirits are funny.
I didn't know it was already recording. Then you come here and say, yeah, that thing probably did too.
No, mine is different. It goes through the radio stations without actually having the sound. Crazy.
There's nothing here.
I know, imagine that.
How long is that?
So, you know why I do that disclaimer? It's because, like, I think the 3 bad reviews I've had in the past 3 years have all come from people didn't understand why we were going to the places we were going to. So I make sure I put that disclaimer at the front, like, hey, there's going to be some of these places that there's nothing there. So, all right. Welcome to another parking lot. If you guys don't know where to park by the time I'm done with you, I can't help you. Sorry. This place used to be something, obviously, right, Kevin? So this used to be the Charles and Eliza Pinckney Mansion. So we call it the Pinckney Mansion site. That's what we dub it now. But again, it is a parking lot. And you're all looking around like, where's the mansion? You're going to have to find out what happened to it. So, spirit boxes, I am not going to be giving you questions like what color is George Washington's white horse, like what we did over there with the big red barn. Right? You're going to have to get the answers from your spirit boxes. I'm going to withhold information on purpose so everybody has a genuine experience. Of course, I'm going to be able to verify anything you guys hear if I say that it's relevant. So, let's get into it. Charles and Eliza had a son named Charles. They had a nephew named Charles. That's 3 Charleses. Now you guys see why I need secondary clues? I need to know who the hell we're talking to. So, the son and the nephew were signers of the Constitution. Pretty big deal for us here in South Carolina, but I hate politics more than you. So we're going to move on. If I don't mention it, something usually weird happens. So, with that said, Eliza married Charles at a young age according to today's standards, not the colonial times that she came from. So if you're going to ask her how old she was when she got married, it's not going to be like 12 or 14, just so you guys know. It'll be according to today's standards. The reason I bring it up is because Charles was over double her age when they married. So it's a pretty big age gap. Now, she married him because there was a specific reason. Her father over in England thought he was dying. He wanted to see all of his children one last time. He was trying to bring Eliza back home to England. She didn't think he was dying. She wanted to stay put. She got married instead. Dad did get better, so Eliza was correct. Dad starts sending her apologetic gifts to this space. One of those gifts happened to be the plant seeds of indigo. Now, you guys have been in Charleston for at least an hour that I know of. You've seen the word indigo somewhere, I promise. Indigo is a plant that makes blue dye that makes our blue jeans blue. Some of you are wearing it right now because that's how we still use it today. Now, it started here, but it didn't originate with Eliza. She just made it a huge cash crop. She had to learn from her slaves how to keep it cultivated, and then she moved it to a plantation just north of here after experimenting with the plant here.
It's at 6.5.
Nice. Good stuff. That's what I'm waiting on. So, I mentioned indigo. That's usually the thing that's flying all over the place.
4.9.
At this point, because you have 6.5, anything above that at this point, let's escalate it so I'm not writing down a million numbers. You're going to have a lot.
Anything above 6.9.
6 point, yeah, 6.5 or 6.9?
6.5.
Okay, well, 6.5. Fair enough. She's got a great memory, right? That was 30 seconds ago. Awesome. So, then she calls her father after she moves the cash crop up to the plantation and says the rice plantation is going downhill. We can make a killing with this indigo. Now we have an international businesswoman with, obviously, something unheard of during colonial times. So, that's her business. Let's get into the weird stuff, because that's why you guys are all here, right? So, Eliza was the second wife named Eliza from Charles back to back, same year. So it's either really smart or really stupid, right, Charles? So with that said, it just depends on how you look at it.
Speaking of stupid, I think I hit a button because I'm hearing
Ah,
music now
dude.
constantly. Yeah, I think I hit something in the front.
Luckily, you're still recording. There you go.
Thank you, thank you. Sorry.
So you can ask, well, ironically, both Elizas have a maiden name that starts with the letter L.
18.
That's good. Memorize those because I'm going to have to write them down. You can ask her her maiden name, and it will start with the letter L, depending on which one is actually here, because both of them have a maiden name that starts with L. You can ask what happened to the mansion. It's not here anymore. Then you can ask, when did that happen? Obviously, I'm giving you a clue that it's a tragedy. So kind of take that in. You're going to get a specific year, hopefully. Fingers crossed. Especially with the readings we're already getting, which is awesome. Eliza's children. I told you there was at least one. His name was Charles, right? Signer of the Constitution. There are more. You can ask how many and what their names are, and that's it. The reason why is because there's a tragedy among those children. Excuse me. If we poke the bear about what happened to our children, all activity will stop, including all EMF readings we're already getting. I've seen it dozens of times, so I'll pretty much know if I don't have any readings. You guys are like, yeah, nothing's going on. Somebody poke the bear. Don't ruin the tour for everybody. So don't be that guy, right? So names and how many she had. Those things usually come up quite often. If other clues come about, I'll be able to verify them, obviously, based on who's actually here. Eliza's death is where she's pretty open. You can ask her how she died, what she died from, and where she's buried, and how old she was. But there's another big clue that people like to ask about, and that's what president was a U.S. or a pallbearer at her funeral. So if that doesn't tell you how important she was, a president carried this woman to her grave. So it's a pretty big deal. So with that said, we're going to spread out. We are not going to be going in between vehicles or in front of vehicles. We are going to use the lasers in this site. Just so you know that this is a safe space. Just definitely keep them in front of you. Nice slow movements out of the cameras and the lasers. The slower you guys move, the better. It's a lot easier to see, and when we actually capture something. I do have yet another new thing that I'm trying out, which seems to be working pretty darn well. I'm going to hand it off to Natalie just because she has my new spirit box, and this is where it seems to be working with. So I have a trigger object. So a trigger object is meant to kind of stir things up with whatever we're trying to do, whoever we're trying to do. I have here a vial of indigo seeds. So they are very hard to come by. It took 6 weeks to come in, and they were expensive. So no pressure on you either.
No,
So again, that is the little vial is glued to the card. So just kind of hang on to it as you're asking your questions and kind of see where things are going with it.
Okay.
So I'm hoping that things are going to start.
There's
popping
already a
through.
lot going on.
Awesome. And of course, you and I will have those conversations, and then I will reveal things if you would like me to, which is perfectly fine. I had a psychic on the tour last week who did phenomenal. Normally, I kind of discredit psychics pretty quickly.
Right. That's why I'm more of an observer and not one that talks a lot, because you have to be able to
be able to get
block
it out.
some of it
Yeah,
out as well.
and
The
be
more
accurate.
you talk about it, the more you invite it. So.
And I'm out here 7 nights a week, so it's not like I haven't done my research. So let's spread out. Let's get those spirit boxes turned up. I got to work with Chandler on that REM pod so she knows how to use it. But everybody else, get to work. Let's do this. Let's see what we got. Yep. You got it. All right, Chandler, come on over. I got to write down your numbers first.
Oh, I need
All right, see, this is your primary phone?
Yeah.
There we go. That's why you don't. You just have to tap. Anything coming, like you said, you had a lot going on already. What do you got?
Like you said, things started in the ground. Pulling. I don't know how to explain it. Usually when there's something that is of importance on the ground or of the ground in general, it's a magnetic, like you don't want to touch it.
Okay.
This was important.
Okay.
It's like the ground.
Exactly where you're at.
Right, like right here.
So Eliza's garden was lined up by Church Restaurant and came all the way across. Which is why you're getting
Like,
it.
I thought every day it's
Totally
like
different.
outside. Here it's like putting it around.
Got it.
You're gonna be
It's more than just indigo here. Anything crazy going on with yours? Anything that you can see? Again,
Not
I put
yet.
this thing up on YouTube. That way you guys can watch it on your TV, your computers, whatever you need to.
Yeah.
So again, a lot of this is going to be like in the review. But if you capture something in real time, obviously that's huge. But yeah, I love this technology.
Yeah,
It's super
I
fun.
do too. It's I'm not familiar working with like this kind of thing, but I do work with thermals as well.
Oh.
I like it. I enjoy it a lot.
Yeah, it's really cool stuff. So basically, what I already told you tonight, you already kind of knew.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Right, with thermals, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I meant. So like the blue dot going to the sky and all of that mess. Perfect.
Yeah.
I just like to have that explanation on there because I have amateurs here all the time. So I have to make sure they have the full explanation, but simple.
Yeah.
So I try to keep it as simple as I possibly can. So, but yeah, it seems like I picked the right devices for the right people out of your group. Huh?
Did you hear what he told me?
The garden.
That's why I can't move from here.
Shriek.
That's not what I mean.
I know. I'm just kidding. Disney 93 James on it?
Huh?
Disney 93 James on it?
He's recording this. I've been trying to draw you over here without telling you.
Nothing yet. I'm just getting different angles.
No, that's good. You wouldn't believe half the cameramen that I get. Oh, you got the spare boxes are all up here. Walled City. This is one of the first streets we ever had. You're now inside the original Charlestown. I like to bring people down here because these two buildings that we're looking at weren't here. So, little tiny shotgun houses. People used to live here. That's why I'm asking you for names. The names I commonly hear, then you hit every common name except for the two. Yeah,
I
Robert.
got Steven.
David as
You got
well.
Steven?
I got Steven, I got Joe, I got Rose, and Prophet.
Rose was her here last night too. You guys are all hitting the very common names except for the two I normally get. The two I normally get are Benjamin and John. So, David has come out of that thing almost 2 or 3 times a week in random spaces. So not always the space. But anyway, here's what goes on with Benjamin and John. The reason why those names you heard of John? So those two guys lived here in 1801. When I say people lived down here, I don't mean there was like a dozen or more people that lived here. I'm talking like 4 to 6 people. So when I hear Benjamin and John every 6 to 7 weeks, I don't find it coincidental at all. And they both lived down here. And I want to say there was a David down here at that time too. I don't have it memorized. But the third name I'll often get is the name Jane. So Jane also lived down here in 1801. I have nothing significant about what happened down here in 1801, other than the fact that we keep hearing the same names every 6 to 7 weeks. We're in that 6 to 7 week time period. So last night we actually had the name John show up. The night before that, the name Ben Simmons came up. I caught it in the actual review the next morning. Here's what's interesting about Simmons. This used to be called Simmons Alley. So, little crazy stuff. Now, here's why I think this is actually happening. You're standing on Belgian blocks. These are made straight from granite. You guys all seem like you're in tune with the paranormal lingo. Limestone is said to be like stirring things up. It's because it comes straight from the earth. So does granite, especially when it sits in the same spot for over 250 years. So the 1790s, roughly, is what you're standing on. So it's called the stone tape theory. These blocks, when they're here this long, are said to hang on to the consciousness of memories and basically replay them back for us to capture on electronic devices. It's been proven time and time again. And again, I don't hide any of your guys' evidence. Your evidence actually stays on my website for an entire year. So if you want to go back and see what happened, you can see what happened on a birthday or a specific date in mind. But again, the stone tape theory, like it's undeniable. Every 6 to 7 weeks, it captured Benjamin and John. So again, if Benjamin shows up because you already heard the name John, I'll be super convinced. Otherwise, there's 4 different Johns that lived here. Every once in a while, we get John's last name, the 1801 John. His last name was Johnson. So yes, his name was John Johnson. Later on, I want to say it was 1855, somebody lived here named Alexander. So again, very odd oddities occurred here. Before people lived here, they actually had a Masonic lodge here, which is where it gets its name from. So Freemasons. So we get a lot of terms wrapped around that. Every once in a while, we'll get Freemason, Mason, breaks, and then the word Illuminati will show up from time to time. First off, who the hell's talking about the Illuminati on the radio that I'm catching it the next day? And secondly, why am I only hearing it when I'm here? So again, very odd space. They did do an archaeological dig underneath the bricks. They found some of the residents' clothing and tools and silverware, and just little odd artifacts. They classified these people as lower class. It makes sense. Across the street from where we were walking, coming down East Bay Street, on the other side is where the other side of the wall would have been. Again, remember, you're inside of it right now. So the smell of low tide would be coming through here quite often. The rich people of Charleston are not going to be living and dealing with the smell of low tide. If you've been down to the Battery, you've noticed the houses are skinny in the front and they go long back. There's 2 reasons for that. First off, you were taxed based on how much street side you took. So the skinnier your house, the less taxes you have. I showed you the Pinky Mansion site. It actually sat broad. First off, they're outside the city. They're probably going to be taxed a little bit more because they're obviously politicians. But it was bragging rights. They have money. They have their indigo farming. They have their politician money. It was bragging rights to show off their beautiful home. The other reason those houses down at the Battery are skinny is because it kept out the smell of low tide. We have theologies here. It's basically a front porch with a door. It helps keep the smell of low tide from coming into the home. They would open up the second-story window and allow the cool breeze to come in from the water. And actually, the cool air drops, heat rises. It's old school air conditioning. So that's part of the reason why those houses are set at the angles that they are down there. You see that even in some of the neighborhoods, and if you look where the water is, it'll all start to make sense on why those houses are angled in specific ways. I stall here and tell you all that history on purpose because, again, we're waiting for the loop to happen. I'm waiting for the recordings to actually be able to capture something. So that's the whole point. What is going to happen from here? We're going to go to another alley. However, I cannot keep you all the way through it like what we're doing here. I got booted out. Here's why. You guys joined the annoying group. You have the blinky lights and the noisemakers and all of that stuff, and it is considered residential. At the end, we are allowed to go halfway, but it's an alley like this. Every ghost tour in town goes down there, and I already told you that they go up to 20 people. It's not fair to them or us for 10 of my people to try to work around 20 to 40 of theirs. So again, trying to investigate the space just doesn't work that way. I still stir up quite a bit talking about this every single night just outside the alley. So we're going to get some footage of that alley. What I'm going to tell you is we go through this, we're going to be cutting through a neighborhood. So it's going to be no laser still, so you're still holding out, and you're going to turn off both your videos as we exit. Spirit boxes, I want you to continue listening in, just to kind of see what's going on. You're still going to be getting like false positives, so we're going to kind of out of the game for a little while until we get to that last spot. After that, I'm going to see what's going on with the spirit boxes. They're kind of like the myths and legends. This one street corner has like 15 stories attached to it. If you guys don't give me anything obviously relevant, then I'm going to go to my normal go-to stories, and then we're going to deep dive into a female pirate at the end. So we'll talk more about that at our next stop. Again, it's kind of a preamp to getting that going, because that big finale is a crazy block road story. There's a reason why I have to go there. Obviously, I got booted out of it. So, how's it going, man?
Good. Excuse me.
Oh, you're good. You're trying to work too, bud. Yep. All right, so let's go cut through that neighborhood and see what we can capture.
Would it be okay
the wrong place to bring us off.
He tells Amanda to get rid of the doctor. So to prove that he's not just after her money, he moves to Charleston. The coachman that brought him into town set him up to be robbed and killed. So it wasn't a very good start to his day in Charleston. Somebody walking by with the name Ralph Isaacs. I'm going to stop on Ralph because Ralph has the same initials as where the doctor came from, Rhode Island. Ralph Isaacs. R.I. will show up here quite often. If nothing else, we'll get an R. So I still need a secondary clue because that ties to two of the main characters of the story. So Ralph says, dude, you don't want to stay here. He's got a gunman inside. He's going to try to take all your money. He's going to try to kill you. He's like, I got some friends at 59 Church Street. You can rent a room from them, and you'll be good to go. So the doctor takes him up on the offer, and the two become friends. The doctor's practice starts to take off. So he's making his own money now. He's proving his point. Demand is moving down soon. He becomes known as the Whistling Doctor. Keep in mind, every haunted city you guys will ever go visit has a cliched whistling ghost story. Ours is a doctor. Just go with it. So, it's a joke, guys. So, anyway, Ralph and the doctor go see plays together, but they can't sit next to each other because the doctor makes more money now. He gets better seats. So they talk about these plays on the way home. They go see William III from Shakespeare, and the doctor thought the new actress in town was fantastic. Ralph, not so much. They start arguing, and then Ralph starts insulting the doctor's fiance back home in Rhode Island. So it gets very ugly in other separate ways. Ralph is from here. He has friends at the newspaper. He puts an ad in the paper telling the whole city of Charleston what he thinks of the doctor. The doctor sees the ad and rebuttals with, bless you. Thank you. He doesn't say bless you. He says, let's go down to Dueler's Alley. We're going to settle this, meaning somebody's going to die. So they come down, they take their 10 paces, they turn. The doctor points his gun in the air, and he shoots. He didn't want to kill his friend. He just wanted to prove a point. However, Ralph has his one shot. Sorry, Gabriel. Puts it in the kneecap on the doctor. It's whoever the guy is in front of me. I can't keep killing females. So, but anyway, the doctor doesn't die either, but Ralph made his point. He drops to the ground. His friends pick him up. They carry him home to 59 Church Street, where he dies 10 days later after refusing medical treatment. He's a doctor. Well, he tried to bleed it out himself. So, moral of the story, you can walk down this alley with a voice recorder and actually hear the whistles from the doctor and or gunshots. When I used to take my tours down there, it was all about, we didn't have the earbud thing yet, so it was all right, turn your spirit boxes off, and you're going to be using the regular audio. However, we're only allowed to go down halfway. So here's why I got kicked out, because this is the fun stuff. Oh, if you happen to go down there on your own and turn on your voice recorders from your phones, keep in mind every local knows the story. Anybody walking up and down Cumberland or Queen Street on the other side throws a whistle. I do it every single night on my way back home to my garage. So we're going to end right there. My garage is above the Scotchman. So I throw a whistle every night. If my daughter's on the tour, we race to see who's going to throw it first. She doesn't realize that I can throw a whistle while I'm talking. So again, it's one of those kind of instances. And I love to do it because I've been booted out and I love to throw off all the other tours. Did I say that out loud? Yes, I did. So here's why I got booted out. At the end is residential. It's a beautiful mansion. This alley didn't always come all the way through down here to Cumberland Street. It was kind of cut off. It used to belong to somebody else. That means the bricks on the other side are older. They're sun-dried bricks from slave children. We have basically they had to turn those bricks in the sun to bake them instead of actually putting them in the oven. So there's a full handprint of a slave child at the end, about 14 bricks in from the Queen Street side, slightly to the right. And there's a couple of other bricks that have fingerprint swipes in them. It's pretty apparent that they are fingerprint swipes. Very sad, but it actually shows how far we've come. I love showing it off. However, those bricks are outside a gentleman's dining room window, and everybody loves to put an EMF meter near it or a spirit box. That brick, that kid is not staring at in the afterlife. I promise you that. So I used to tell people, take a quick picture and move on if you really want to see it that badly. Like, we can't stay here. I'm the new tour guide. I don't know all the rules yet. This guy come out screaming on November 26, 2020. I remember that date very specifically. Here's why. November 27th was Thanksgiving. By the way, my daughter was on the tour and she thought it was great that Dad was getting screamed at. So 27th was Thanksgiving. I did not have a tour. 28th was Black Friday. I'm fully booked. I get a phone call from the office that I have to reroute or go down halfway like everybody else. So I decided I'm going to reroute and tell this crazy pirate story that I don't even believe in. I'm a vampire guy, not a pirate guy. So I told my team that night tickets were much cheaper, that I can actually wing it. So it was a matter of like, all right, guys, we're going to see what happens. I'll tell you what I know, because I couldn't research, that much. So I did tell what I knew. Somebody hears the name Anne on the way there. I'm about to tell the story of Anne Bonny. Once we're actually kind of diving into the space a little bit, somebody else hears the number 300. I have no idea what it means. The next day during the research, I look up the number 300 in relation to Anne Bonny, and I find out we were there on November 28th of 2020. Her trial for piracy was November 28th, 1720. We We were there on the exact 300-year anniversary of her trial. Now I've probably read about 50 books on pirates because I have to keep learning about everything we're doing. There's a lot of holes in the pirate stories because it's so long ago. There's not very accurate records. So as we kind of dive into that space, that story is crazy of what I pieced together for y'all based on all of the books I've had to read about this one woman. Yeah, craziness. So basically what comes out of there is a hit or a miss. She's either there or she's not. We're rolling the dice. And is said to be seen all over town. And you'll realize why once we get down there. So what we're going to do from here is we're going to go up and around the corner. Have you guys heard anything before we move on? I don't know if you guys...
41 or 44.
41 or 44. Do you want to know why you heard probably 44? Charles Pinckney, the husband, is buried around the corner, and they got married in 1744. I'm going to put 41 or 44. Apparently Ella missed the 44. She's missed everything. Yeah, not the drum solo. And I'll just point out that we're at Philadelphia Alley, and you heard Phil Collins.
Yeah.
Ironic, but I'm going to take it. All right, Anne, have you heard anything before I move on? All right, let's head up around the corner. I want to show you some things going on there. You guys can either cut your videos off or you can keep them going. It's completely up to you. So, have a seat here. We're going to chill here for a few minutes and kind of let you guys, I'm going to tell you a couple of things around this corner. You guys haven't told me anything that you've heard yet, so let's kind of have a seat and tell me what you guys got. This is also tablet time. So, I get to show you why every ghost tour goes up to that damn corner, because I let them have it. They actually have a little show and tell for it, and it's usually their big finale, so you guys obviously are dealing with much deeper equipment, basically one picture. So I still tell the story just because things like to stir things up. But we heard first, the little tiny building up there in the front with the crosses on it, that's the gunpowder magazine. So those are not crosses, those are earthquake bolts. In the event we have another earthquake like what we did in 1886, you can turn those, like they're on turnbuckles. So you can turn them and it's supposed to straighten the building back up. It's a great idea, it just doesn't work. The reason I point these out is because it's the first set that Charleston ever put in, because this is the oldest government building in South Carolina. Notice I said government building, it's not our oldest building. So, with that, I told you also about the Charlestown walls when we were at Lodge Alley. I do that on purpose because I bring them up again. Where that garage sits is where the wall sits. So it actually went up Cumberland Street and just past the powder magazine and started going south behind me towards the battery. It puts it into the corners on purpose. It's 3 blocks away from the water. If Revolutionary warships or pirate ships are going to attack, it's going to have a hard time penetrating a cannonball all the way 3 blocks away to get through the 32-inch thick walls. It's protecting gunpowder. In the event that it does, and we're going to pretend that it does, it goes through the walls and blows up the gunpowder. There is sand underneath those red shingles that's supposed to go up in the air with the explosion and then fall to put out the fire of the gunpowder. It's another great idea that doesn't work. Here's why we know that. Another powder magazine closer to the battery. If you know our geography, it's much skinnier down there, so there's less distance it had to go through. The sand went up in the air and the building burned to the ground. It no longer exists. This one has just never been attacked. So it did serve in 7 different wars for you history buffs, the Civil War being its last servant, just so you know. So the number 7 shows up quite a bit if anybody wants to know about that. We haven't heard it yet tonight, but we'll kind of see what actually pops up. We are here because this building took 10 years to build. Does that sound like our government? Small building, 10 years? No, not at all. 1703 to 1713 is the construction time. We're here because Anne Bonny actually moved here in 1708, right in the middle of its construction. So this building is familiar. It's kind of like using a toy to attract a child ghost. It's the same type of mentality. So let's get the story started. Young lady moves here from Ireland. Irish music, see why I said that? Her name is Anne Cormack. She moves here with her father and his mistress. The mistress is her mother. Are you guys with me so far? The 3 of them are running away from his wife. How mad was she? Get on a boat from Ireland to land here. I know that feeling, don't I? So we had a discussion long before you guys got here. But anyway, they land in Georgetown. Dad buys a plantation. Mom died pretty quickly. So he has to send young Anne down here to Charlestown to be able to sell anything from the plantation and keep things afloat. That's why we're here. Obviously a familiar building. Back home in Ireland, Anne was kind of a badass. They say she actually killed one of her servants when she was only 10 or 12 years old with a knife to the belly. So again, I just want to put that mentality in the back of all of your brains as we can kind of go through this story. We're going to fast forward. Building's done in 13. In 1715, pirates are coming through town. Anne is stoked. She's probably 16, 17 years old at this time. She falls in love pretty quickly. The guy's name is James Bonny. You see where this is going, don't you? So, Dad doesn't approve. He's a filthy pirate. I'm not going to approve either, Dad, right? So, they run away to Jamaica. They get married. Anne Cormac becomes Anne Bonny, your most famous female pirate of the Golden Age. However, when they get down there, this is not the swashbuckling, rum-drinking Captain Jack Sparrow kind of pirate she was looking for. This guy is a privateer. He's a spy for the British. He's a coward. This is not who she wanted. She falls in love a little bit later, a couple of years. Guy number 2. This guy's name is John Rackham, aka Calico Jack. Much cooler name, and he has his own ship. She wants to be part of it. Girls curse pirate ship. She can't put a girl on the crew. He makes a deal with her. If you dress like a guy and hide your gender, you can be part of the crew, but you're going to be a female in my quarters. Kind of a jerk move, but hey, he's the captain. There was something that just came out of that. I didn't hear what it was. So, with that, how are you feeling, by the way?
I'm gonna be completely honest with you guys. Anytime I'm here specifically at this church, ever since I was a child, because I've lived in Charleston my entire life, I always have an overwhelming experience with all kinds of spirits.
Do we need to move down a little bit?
No, I'll be okay. There's one specifically. It's just it can be distracting.
Okay.
Because it's when they know that you know, it can be distracting.
Totally understood.
Right.
Just wanted to check up on you because you weren't saying much.
Yeah,
So-
that's why.
All right, where was I? Calico Jack, she's on the ship, right? Yep. All right, so she's okay with this cross-dressing bit, by the way, because Dad used to cross-dress her as a boy back home in Ireland to keep her away from his wife. So she's okay. She'll still be a pirate. But let's put 2 and 2 together. She's a female in his quarters. She's eventually going to get pregnant. You cannot have a pregnant pirate dude on the crew. Somebody's going to figure it out. So he drops her off in Cuba. Go have the baby, come back later, we'll figure it out. She goes and has the baby, but returns with no baby. We have no idea what happened to this child. I told you there's a lot of holes in this story. She's also dressed like a female. She doesn't give a damn anymore about hiding her gender. This makes Jack pretty mad. So he also just captured another pirate crew while she was gone, delivering his baby, and they're down below deck. We're on guy number 3. Anne's gonna go flirt me. Guy number 3 turns out to be female, dressed like a guy to be part of the pirate crew that Calico Jack just captured.
Did you hear that?
I heard something.
All 3?
All 3. So we're on guy number 3. There's more. We're going to get into that in a minute. So, this young lady that she was flirting with, that she thought was a guy, her name is Mary Reed. The 2 of them become friends, possibly lovers, we'll never know for certain. And Mary becomes part of the crew. So, the British find out where they are. They send their entire fleet to come take down one little ship. Anne and Mary are the only 2 pirates not drunk enough to come up and fight with their 1-bullet flintlocks. So, obviously, they're going to not be able to take down the entire fleet. They get captured, and they are being arrested. She looks over at her bow and captain, Calico Jack, and says, "You should have fought like a man instead of being hanged like a dog." Obviously, dog being a prominent term here. The judge, his name is Nicholas Laws. I know I told you about Nicholas Trott across the street, but my name shows up here all the time based on all of these different factors. So, Nicholas Laws wants to see the 2 men after he's already tried and hung Calico Jack and the drunken crew that couldn't come up and fight. So, the 2 ladies go in front, they reveal their gender, trying to save themselves. He doesn't care. They're still pirates. He's still going to hang them. So, they say, "We plead our bellies," which means they're both claiming to be pregnant. Can't hang a pregnant woman at 1720. It's illegal. He sends them both back to jail, and he delays the hanging. Anne's father is back here in Charleston with all of his Irish money. He bails out Anne. She remarries, has husband number 2, guy number 4, because we don't know about Mary for sure. Has 4 children and dies at the age of 84. I know, very abrupt. You were expecting a whole lot more, sure. Mary Reed died a year later in 1721 in the Jamaican jail from whatever pirates die from in a Jamaican jail. It's probably bumpy and scurvy and whatever else you want to come up with. So, I left out 2 things on purpose, because you guys all know how to use your devices by now. The 2 things I left out, just to get you started, are the names of Anne Bonny's parents. That's the father and the mistress. So you can ask what their names are. You can also ask what the name of Calico Jack's ship is. I left that out purposely as well. So that's anything else you guys want to ask is fair game. You guys know what you're doing by now. Cameraman, I do want you guys to try to get some footage of the front of the powder magazine. And yes, you can use lasers in the front line only. Just make sure they stay on the ground. Otherwise, you're going to be in somebody's living room. Those are apartments. So we're going to basically kind of hang out here for, I'm going to go to the wall, but I told you at the beginning of this that people have passed out in the past and cyclists normally don't make it. Back in September, I had a group about this size. I brought him back here. The kid next to me goes white as a ghost, literally, and he starts to pass out. So I start to pick him up by his armpit. His boyfriend picks him up from the other side, and we carry him over to that wall. I send the boyfriend over for a bottle of water. He brings it back. He's feeling better. I then tell the story. It's very important to know I hadn't told the story yet. I send everybody out to go play with their devices, and they pull me aside. We have to tell you something. What's going on? We are 2 transgender males, meaning I had 2 females dressed as males on the tour, just like Anne and Mary. And it made complete sense at that point why one of them pretty much passed out within minutes of entering the space. So again, It's a very weird anomaly, but they are perfectly fine with being part of my Anne Bonny story at this point.
Maybe that was your September reference.
It could be. I thought of that as soon as I said it. So I'm gonna go chill over there by the wall, spirit boxes. Let me know what you guys find out. I'll pull you guys in within 5 to 10 minutes based on what you guys are getting excited about. So let's have some fun in here. Let's do this. I see you fiddling around a little bit.
Just stop. Back up. About halfway through, I realized what you were
Just make sure you stay out of the way of the doors. That's the only thing I ask. Let them have it. They're not going to be there long. You're already getting blingy blingies? That's crazy. Like my technical term, blingy blingies? We're practically a doctor. You're just going nuts. That's crazy. That happened here last night too, but it was closer to the cover next. Did you have any ratings over there? Reset? Because we'll tell you, like, this is not a hot spot for EMF as far as the numbers on the red screen, unless you get close to the bushes, because the electrical poles and the parking meters are over there.
Okay.
So if you just like stay in the back half of things and get something, I'll be super excited because it usually means something else is going on. This is very exciting as well. But as far as the colors go around, you have no idea what's going on. That's crazy. I know that's a long story. So you see me like slap, like, man, he's gonna keep going. Anne or Mary, can you make it stay on one color? Four years. Give us one color. I'm thinking blue or purple. It's right in the middle. Just got to get close to the metal stick. I will tell you that last night was crazy in here because somebody actually heard the real full name of Black, and they had no idea what it was. Like two different voices came through. So I was like, okay, that is supposed to be chill here. But then we had other terms relative to Black.
Okay.
So I was like, alright. And then I wish it was true. Purple. Make it go to purple. Stay there. So you know the colors, you know how close you have to get. Let me know if your red screen goes off.
insecurity. Yeah. Really, like he's a writer too. Obviously. Well, you said he's a writer. Yeah. I had my writer on that. So it's back there. We do talk about here. My first movie was retail for 20 years. Down here, helping with me 400. I wasn't used to the sun at all. It gets really bad. They asked me to slow down. They asked me to slow down. I can't.
You hear the bell in the distance?
Say what?
Church bell.
Yes.
Right before it started chiming, I heard it's time. And then when I was over by this wall, I heard, like, I know it's gonna sound weird, but I heard die, and then I heard he's a rat. Like a snitch, like somebody who snitched on somebody.
So, here's what I'm saying.
Right. Right. I get like a traitor, and I had that weird, like, feeling of, I don't know how to explain it. That's why I walked away, because it whatever energy was there did not like that I was standing there even.
Interesting. It's the same thing. Same damn. Like, but he's got blue pants on. He's got suspenders.
Right.
I'm like, well, this is a Confederate state.
Exactly.
So why are we seeing a Union soldier? We wouldn't have had a Union soldier guarding the powder magazine. It would have been a Confederate soldier. Very. But the blues would throw me off.
Yeah.
So
That is interesting.
it's very interesting that you guys pick up on the same thing. And he's just not happy about me. I really don't care because I keep coming back. So I keep getting
It was very clear he's a rat.
He's a
like-
rat.
Okay. Got it.
All right, let's
Somebody
pull
snitched.
everybody in and we'll get this party wrapped up. I want to see what Laura's been doing. She's got the earbud in now. Yeah, you guys can kill your videos. Did you get some footage of the front?
Like up around?
Yeah.
No, I just got all around
okay.
here. But I can go in the front door real
It's up
quick.
to you. You can go up there while we're waiting on him.
Yeah.